Hi everybody, welcome back to the Sales on Demand show. I'm Adam Schneider. I am your lovable, cuddly, teddy bear shaped host. Today is episode 114, and I'm calling this one, Are You Productive or Are You Just Busy? Kind of like that Elton John's song, Are we human or are we dancers? Which I never really understood that song, but it's a good song. So, me, I just got back from summer camp, which I actually had not been expecting to go to this year. At least I hadn't planned on it. But one of my good friends, he's been a good friend of mine for a while. He is the director of a camp. And he texted me and said, hey, what are you doing on... I didn't remember what the dates were. It was a 5-day stretch that basically ended yesterday. He said, are you busy? Do you want to come help me direct a family camp? And I looked at my schedule and I couldn't believe it, but it actually kind of worked. And I thought, well, I'm not going to get a chance to do this again this summer. So, yeah, I'll come out there. Hopefully there's some internet out there because I still do need to run my business while I'm out there and, talk to students and deal with Facebook stuff. So I said, all right, I'm out. I'm coming out there. And so I did. And it worked out as well as you possibly could have imagined. It could not have gone better is what I'm really saying. So the camp session was wonderful. It was really smoky because we still have fires in BC, so I do feel pretty sorry for you guys in BC dealing with all these fires and stuff. And I guess if you're in Australia, you might be also dealing with fires there too. But yeah, it was pretty smoky, but the kids had fun. There was adults and kids, a pretty interesting mix of people. And at the very end, the kids really enjoyed frog marching me down to the lake and pushing me into the lake, which, I knew that was coming, so I kind of let it happen. But, man, that was the highlight of their week. You would think that they were, I was like, you kids are scaring me. I can only imagine if you turn into adults, you'll be, marching them off the plank or something. So, kids are funny that way, but also bought a trailer, not expecting it, but my wife found a good deal, and I thought, you know what? Tried camping with a tent. It was just miserable. It was just too hot, nowhere to cook, nowhere to get out of the sun, and I'm like, I need my trailer back. So we found a little tiny fifth wheel trailer. It only sleeps 4, but that's perfect. It's all I need. The only problem is I can't get out on my driveway. It tilts back at the tail end of it. My truck is really tall, so it kind of scrapes on the driveway as I'm trying to back it in. So I guess it's not going on the driveway, and that's fine. But my son was a little disappointed. He loves sleeping in the trailer just as it's parked in the driveway, so he'll have to just adapt to that, I guess. Also, and this is something that I kind of agonized about this for a little bit, but I am now working for Gear Bubble, like officially working for Gear Bubble. And this is new. I haven't talked about this before. Don Wilson, the owner of Gear Bubble, he came to me probably like a few months ago, maybe even 6 months ago, and he said, hey, I'm thinking about, creating a social media position and, someone who can do content and stuff. Are you interested in being that guy? And at the time, I had not much going on. And I thought, oh, that's great. That's great. This should be easy to do. But more recently, I've become a lot more busy. So I was a little bit nervous about saying yes to this because, the more you take on, the more work you have, the harder life becomes, right? You gotta work harder to get things done. You gotta manage your time better. So I wanted to talk today about managing your time and how my struggles basically can teach you how to manage your time better. Be more productive with less time. There was a time where I'd be working maybe like 5 or 6 hours a day, and I'd kind of have the rest of the day to just do whatever I wanted. I didn't even have to plan out, break times or rest time. I was just able to just kind of do things helter-skelter wherever. No planning was necessary, and it worked out fine. Now, I really can't do that. But of course, now I've got the income to go with the extra work, so I've got to start really managing my time well, because I just don't want to burn out. I think burnout is a real thing. Even if you like what you do, burning out is something that can happen, and it does cause health problems. Especially if you start neglecting the other things that keep you healthy, such as working out or, getting outside, getting enough sun, recreation time. It's very important. You just can't work all the time. You just cannot do that. It's not good. It's not smart. It's not productive. Even making a little bit more money, it's just not worth it. But it turns out that being more productive is not really that difficult to do when you look at what you're doing and how you're doing it. So we'll talk today about how to structure your life so that your time becomes much more productive. As always, you can join my special bootcamp series at salesondemandshow.com/start. Of course, you can always find all of these episodes, all 114 of them, at salesondemandshow.com. They're all there. Also, please subscribe on iTunes and other social media sites, or whatever sites you get for podcasts. And if you like the show, leave a review, because it actually does help get a little bit more traffic in there. It's summertime right now, so I won't have as many episodes coming out per week. It's just, I like to take some time during the summer, go out, go camping. This is the time to do it, so this is when I am doing it. So, get the bootcamp series. There's 5 different videos. You get all 5 of them in one email when you join the email list at salesondemandshow.com/start. Cool. So, what's happening to date? Running about just a little under $20,000 sales this year on Amazon. I'm a little lazy, I know. I say that, but I realize I'm not being lazy. I'm just working on prioritizing things, but I need to start sending more FBA stock to Amazon. This is one thing that has popped up a lot, is that I need to start testing a lot more products with Amazon FBA. I don't necessarily think that I should be printing all of my FBA at home, which I have been so far, but I do need to start testing more products, and I haven't been doing that with as much regularity as I should. Now, Etsy's doing pretty good. Of course, at this time last year, we were right in the middle of, let me call this the mask Christmas. Everybody and their dog started buying face masks. And I was making loads of money off of face masks on Etsy. And similar numbers on Amazon, a little less so, but still quite a few mask sales on Etsy and Amazon. That was a nice windfall. But I knew it was going to be just a temporary thing. And I was hoping it was going to be a temporary thing, because I just, the idea of wearing masks forever is just ludicrous. But, while they were out, I thought, okay, I'll make some money off of it. And I did. I probably made about $20,000 or $25,000 in sales from masks. So, I've shared this before, but whatever your feeling on masks are, or whatever your feeling on anything is, there's always money to be made from entrepreneurs who take advantage of whatever's happening. You may not like what's happening, but there's always an opportunity in it. And we are, I hate to say this, we are opportunists. We take advantage of the situation that we see around us, and we use that to our advantage. We make money off of what's happening on planet Earth. So it is what it is, right? You like it, you don't like it. That's how we do this. Well, Amazon's a little slower than it was last year, but of course, mask sales did help a lot from that. But it is coming back. So looks like it's going to be a great Christmas as long as I can get enough FBA stock into Amazon. And crypto is coming back a little bit. As you may or may not have known, crypto had a huge tank. I mean, it just bombed. Bitcoin went from 54,000 something. I mean, it was closing up on 60,000 at one point, dropped back down to 33,000 per Bitcoin, which is a huge drop. I mean, it's almost a 50% drop. So that was pretty significant, and it cut into my profits a little bit. But I'm almost back to break even, which is pretty good considering that, all of my holdings basically got cut in half. So the fact that I'm almost back to break even really shows that this crypto bot does work. And even with, price surges and prices going down, it still works to gain as much profit as possible despite the volatility in the market. So I'll put a link in the show notes if you guys want to try trading with the crypto bot. Don't throw your life savings in it. It's very volatile, as more volatile than stocks are for sure. But I do think crypto has a good future. I don't know if Bitcoin is going to be the crypto of the future. I'm sure it's going to hold a very special place in everyone's heart. But there's all kinds of crypto coins that are not necessarily Bitcoin. And they are also seeing, dips and rises and stuff like that. So you can take advantage of those, surges and volatility with a crypto bot. And it basically, it buys low and sells high, and it does it automatically. So it's kind of fun to watch it. And you can make some money. Throw a couple $1,000s in there and just see how it does. All right, so let's talk about what kind of products you should be making right now. And that is, of course, back to school stuff. So it's not a huge thing. Back to school isn't this major event, but it is a thing, and people do buy products for their kids. They buy products for their teachers. Coffee mugs might be good for teachers, but also wine tumblers. So that's pretty cool. Wine tumblers, I think, they're going to be a hot product. And Gear Bubble does have wine tumblers. So, if you're not signed up with Gear Bubble, you can head over there, check it out. I do talk about how to use all of this stuff in my training course, which you can find at salesondemandshow.com/AZ. It's called Print on Demand A to Z. Everything on how to sell print on demand online from A to Z. So check it out. Or you can just keep listening to the podcast, and I will eventually tell you everything I know. It might take a couple more years, maybe a half a decade, but, eventually I'll get there. So let's talk about being productive versus being busy. Time management tips. Well, the last couple weeks have been pretty busy for me. Even despite that, I still managed to find 5 full days to just disappear, literally into the backwoods. Like, I was out at the summer camp, like I said, and it was in the middle of nowhere, and they didn't even have access to the cell network. Like, I didn't get any cell phone service out there, although they had a Wi-Fi hotspot, which kind of saved me. Without the Wi-Fi hotspot, this almost would have been impossible to do. But yeah, it was way out in the middle of nowhere. And I basically took 5 days off, although not really. I took most of 5 days off to be out there, really enjoyed myself, refreshed myself, rolled my ankle a little bit, but it was fairly simple to do because I am learning how to be productive versus being busy. Now, there was a time that I was pretty busy, and yet I would look at the end of the day and I would say, what did I get done? What did I get done? I do have a lot of people commenting because they can see how many things I'm doing, for example, a podcast, but I'm also working for 2 different companies doing coaching and media content, plus running my own business. And the closer we get to Christmas, the busier that's going to be. That's a fact. It's just an inevitable fact of life is that you're just going to be busy all the time. So there are some ways to manage your time so that you don't become overwhelmed and you don't give away your time to things that are unproductive. So the first thing, I got 3 points and then 3 more points. So bear with me here. But I think you're going to find a lot of value in this. So the first thing about busyness is that social media is a time thief. Now, yeah, okay. I rely on social media. It's part of my job to be on social media. I have a private Facebook group with the print-on-demand A to Z course, and you can join that private Facebook group when you buy the course, and it's a permanent subscription, so you get all of the tips that people have in the group. But you're going to manage that social media. So I'm on social media quite a bit, and if I'm not careful, it can be a time thief. So I've had to break up social media into daily chunks. So first thing in the morning, get on social media, bang out some answers to questions, and then I shut it off. I don't scroll my Facebook feed. I've stopped using Instagram, and honestly, I'm thinking about just deleting Twitter because Twitter is virtually worthless to me. I mean, it really is. Twitter it's just a bunch of mobs yelling at each other. It's entertaining for sure, but it's really worthless in terms of how much it brings value to my life. Apart from maybe the entertainment value, which is, that's real. So if I do go on Twitter, it's just because I'm just bored with doing anything else and I have some time to do that. But otherwise, if I'm not using social media right there, right then, I close my social media pages. So I don't keep a Facebook tab open on my browser because otherwise I'll just keep getting notifications, and my brain, and I'm sure that there are lots of you out there that can relate to this, my brain, if I see a notification, I'm just like, I cannot leave it alone. I have to check that notification. It drives me crazy that this is the way I am, but I look in the mirror and the face staring back at me is just me. So this is who I am. I cannot ignore notifications. So the best way to ignore a notification is to just close the entire program. That way you're not notified of the notification. Then when you come back to Facebook, you've got like 20 notifications. You scroll through and see which ones are worth looking at. Deal with that. 10 minutes, done. Close it again. So you have to treat social media almost like it's junk food. You can have a little bit of junk food, and it might even be entertaining or some kind of like a mental break to be on social media, but you can't sit there and just eat it and exist on social media all day long because it's going to make you unproductive. Now, there's other things that will steal your time as well, and, for me, playing computer games used to be a thing. Most of the time, if I'm doing some gaming, it's just an hour here or there when I have the time. And you do need those mental breaks. We'll talk about how to get those mental breaks and where to put them in a later part of this episode. But just be aware that these time thieves exist, and if you don't manage them well, they will steal your productivity for you, or from you, I should say. Now, people can also be time thieves, and no, I'm not talking about your spouse or your girlfriend, or your boyfriend, although, they do take your time. But those are relationships that are important. You need those. So if your spouse needs you, give them the time. If, during the middle of the day or at the end of the day, you come home and you go straight onto your computer, you're actually stealing time from people. It's not that those people are time thieves. It's that you're stealing time from them. You owe people some of your time. You need to give people your attention. Work is not more important than relationships. It is just not. So don't trade, a social life for working. Now, on the other hand, if you've got people that are always asking for your time and they're just very demanding and they're not your kids or anything like that, because, you kind of owe your kids your time, then you do need to be very careful about how much time you give them. So, for example, your mother-in-law calls you on the phone and she has no agenda. She just wants to talk your ear off. All right, well, mother-in-laws are fun and they're good people, but we can't afford the time to just sit there and chat on the phone. And quite frankly, I don't even like talking on the phone. So generally speaking, I've made it clear to most of the people that I care about, except for my mother, who I will talk on the phone with, I just don't do phone calls. Phone calls, they eat up a lot of time without really being that productive. Now, going and spending time in person with somebody, that's fairly easy to manage that time because it's, you visit, you're there, you spend a little bit of time, maybe eat some food or something, then you take off and you go home. So going for an in-person visit is actually easier to manage than a phone call, because phone calls lack one thing. They lack the ability to sort of break the conversation off. And it's usually between two people. So you don't have a group setting like you normally would with an in-person visit. So phone calls, I'm just not a fan of phone calls. Unless I'm calling my mother or my father. Those are really the only two people I call. Even my wife, I don't really call her that much because I see her all the time. If I'm away, I'll call and just see how they're doing and reconnect a little bit. But my wife has never been the kind of person that just loves talking on the phone, that's okay with me because I'm not that person either. But phone calls can be a huge time thief, and other people who demand your time without really respecting what you do, those kinds of people, you need to just create some boundaries with them. So if you need to tell them that I can't talk on the phone right now, then do that. Or if it's a case of, well, let's do an email instead of a phone call, that might be better. And quite honestly, for business purposes, emails are probably the best way to go about it. They're quick to the point. Most people are not, some people ramble on in emails, but most people don't. So it's not great, but it's better than a phone call because you don't have the whole, the unproductive part where you're like, hey, how's it going? Oh, blah, 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 blah. Oh, so how's your family? That's just sort of fluff that goes into every phone call. And quite frankly, I don't know if it really builds a relationship or not. I guess it can. And people do need a little bit of time to just relate to somebody, but it's better to do that in person if you're going to do it at all. So that's enough about time thieves. Most of us know. We instinctively know what is taking up our time. And if you don't know, well, here's how you find out. So I want you to think of time as being like food. It is important, it is useful, and we need it. But it is very hard to track time, just in the same way as it's very hard to track food. But it's very useful to track time because it is like food, where if you spend your time doing things that are unproductive, it's a waste of your energy, and it makes you less successful in life. I don't know if because it doesn't make you fat, but like food, if you're just eating food and not tracking how much you're eating of something, you can easily eat too much food, you can eat too much sugar, you can eat too much junk food or whatever, and that's bad for you. I mean, that's pretty bad. And most people don't even think about it. You don't think about what you eat in a day because you're just putting food in your mouth. And especially if we're bored, like I have a homemade muffin beside me, and I just realized now that I've eaten 3 of these already today, so I'm not really tracking what I'm eating for food. And I used to not track my time because I didn't take it seriously. But time, I think, really is like food. And it's difficult to track, but not impossible. And it's immensely useful just to know, what are you spending your time on? Because we are limited. Just like with food budgets, I guess, you're limited to how much you can eat or how much time you can spend doing something before it starts to become unhealthy. Now, at a very high level of success, so when you start becoming, and I'm not trying to put myself in this high level of success category. I am successful. I'm enjoying what I do, doing it well, and I feel like this is a high level for me. And definitely time has become more important than money. So this is one of those times where you've got to decide whether you're going to trade your time for money, or you're going to hire someone else to do things for you that you normally might do yourself. A great example for me is there was a time where I would change the tires on my vehicles because it was just more productive for me to do it. So I would go out and buy, 2 or 3 tires. I burned through tires like crazy. And I needed to save money on tires because I was kind of poor back then. Not necessarily poor, but just not managing money well. So I would go out and buy tires, and then I would pull off a tire in my car, and I would just, pull it off the rim and replace it. And I had the tools to do that. But the thing is that it took time. Now, right now, I can't do that. I can't afford the time to go and buy 4 tires if it's just going to save me $100 or something like that. Now, if it's going to save me $500, I might do that. And I'm thinking about doing it for my truck. But you're always balancing the competing interests of time and money. And of course, this isn't necessarily easy to do, but you start to have to do this when your time becomes worth quite a bit of money. It's just the way it is. Obviously, if you're just getting started, then your time won't be worth that much money because you're still learning. You're still kind of start developing your skills. You're developing just how to do these things. And maybe you're still running a bunch of other programs. Maybe this isn't the only business you've got, and you've done some successful things, and now you're learning something new. But at where I'm at right now, time is almost more important than money. So I'm at the point where I'm like, okay, my van needs new tires. It's going to cost me $1,000. Just do it. I've got the $1,000, but I don't have the day and a half it would take for me to track down 4 tires and put them on the van. I don't have that kind of time anymore. But I've got the money. And I'm done trading money for time. The time is more important to me. So when we're talking about time, there's a couple of things that you need to understand about time. It's not always just about time, right? It's not just about scheduling things in. It's also about the mental bandwidth as well, right? So imagine that you're a line cook and you're making complex dishes. So, and this is really shows up for tasks where you really have to focus on what you're doing, and it takes some time to kind of get into things like this. So mental bandwidth is how many different things can your brain focus on at any given time without just basically running off the rails. Mental bandwidth is basically your capacity to deal with not just time, but different things. And it's different things to different people, but I hope you know what I mean by mental bandwidth. Like, how much can you focus on at any given time and still maintain success in all of the areas that are important? So part of the things, like, let me explain what takes up my mental bandwidth. So there is my existence on planet Earth. I mean, I have to shower, I have to, put on clothing and just do the dishes, take care of the house. That's all part of the background noise of my life. But it does take up maybe like 5 to 10% of my mental bandwidth. Then there's my relationship with my wife. I've got an upcoming anniversary that I need to plan for. It's our 20th anniversary, so it's a big one. That's another like 5 to 10% of my mental bandwidth. Then beyond that, my kids. My daughter just got a job. My son is enjoying summer and I want to spend some time with him. So that's another 10 to 15% of mental bandwidth. So you can see that we're chipping away at my ability to do a whole bunch of things because there's already a bunch of things going on. Then there's, the business. So if a customer emails me and I forget that they emailed me, that's kind of important. I need to respond to customer messages. Then there is, a whole bunch of other things that go on that you just need to manage. So you're going to have your own mental bandwidth, and you'll probably detect it when you start getting to the edge of your capacity to manage everything that's going on. And you'll start feeling stressed. You'll start feeling very stressed, and you'll feel what a lot of people call burnout. You can call it whatever you like, but that's a bad place to be. So when you start getting to that point, you need to decide, what is it that I'm doing that is exceeding the bandwidth here? And maybe it's that, things are stressing you out in your family relationships and you need to focus more on that. Well, you need to do that, right? Even if you're putting aside running a side business for a little bit, focusing on your family's relationships is very important for the future. I cannot overstress that I am not the kind of person that sacrifices my family for money. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to sacrifice my marriage for money. I would rather be poor and living in my trailer than have my wife leave me because I'm just being too busy all the time. So I'm always looking at ways to spend more time with my family, and not just more time, but more productive time. So I want to be present when I'm with them so that they're getting my full attention. And it is hard because you've got all these things bouncing around in your head. So bandwidth is a big deal. And here's one of the things that I'm going to tell you right now. And I know that this is something that it goes against the grain. Do not multitask. Just don't do it. It doesn't work. Now, multitasking is when you've got a bunch of things open at the same time and you're switching back and forth. So, multitasking is like the person working in the fast food restaurant, and they got to manage the till, they got to manage the drive-through, they got to manage, the boss says, okay, I need you to go clean the pots, get those clean, get them back out here. So you've got a whole bunch of competing things that are going on at the same time, and instead of putting each one in a slot, you're trying to do them all at once. That's multitasking. It is very hard to do, and it usually ends up being less successful than simply doing one thing at a time, getting it done, and moving on to something else. So pick a time of day that you respond to customer messages. Pick a time of day that you go and you fill your customized orders. So I get, 3 or 4 customized orders probably every single day. Especially right now, it's kind of wedding and engagement season, so I'm getting a lot of those kind of orders. So I pick a time of day, I go in, I smash them out. Then if I get any further orders today, they get put on tomorrow's list. And that way I'm not, doing a whole bunch of small tasks throughout the day. I can focus on one important thing at a time. The last thing I'm going to leave you guys with is a task will always fill the time that you allot to do it. And maybe you've heard this one before, but it's true. So if you give yourself an entire day to clean your house, it will take the entire day. But if you give yourself half an hour to do something, and you really you put a timer on. So I really found this out in the military, right? The Army, they just love doing this. You finish, your morning PT and you come back in and they say, all right, showered, shaved, dressed in your uniform, smelling, good, deodorant on, you've got 11 minutes. The whole platoon has 11 minutes to get ready for your next task. Well, I didn't even know that it was possible to shower and, get dressed in 11 minutes. But it is. Because at 12 minutes, you're late and you're doing push-ups. Or the people that are waiting for you are doing push-ups, and then they're going to be mad at you. So putting yourself under pressure to finish a task will always shorten the time it takes to finish that. So what I like to do is I set an alarm on my phone, or I block off time on my calendar. And I've got my calendar open basically the whole day. So I get up, I'm usually at my computer desk by 9, because the morning I just kind of make some breakfast and eat and do some social media stuff. So that's my social media time. And then I get on and I set basically 25, 27-minute blocks. And that is the time. Then when it's done, it's done. And if I got it done, then I got it done. So that's it for this session, guys. That's it for this podcast episode. I appreciate all of the listeners out there. And I've got actually an interview with somebody that I'm going to throw as a bonus episode coming up here. So have a look out for that. We'll see you guys next week. Cheers.